Welcome to our part 2 video of using the makey and the copper tape to create some really interesting projects. So one of the samples we're going to look at today is what I like to call the kiosk project. So when we left off last time, this is what we had. We had my water cycle with the copper tapes with our makey all attached. So now we're going to take a look at how do we now program our computer. We're going to use Scratch so that the makey is actually controlling something on our screen. So the first thing we're going to do in Scratch is we're going to go ahead and click on Create, and that's going to get us a brand new Scratch file. If you need to enable Flash, please go ahead and do that. That will not be something we have to do in the new version of Scratch, which we'll talk about in a future video. First thing I like to do is go ahead and name my Scratch project. So I'm going to call this one the water cycle. So the controlling with the makey is really pretty simple. So when we go to our Scratch categories here, we're going to go ahead and go to the event category, and we know that the makey takes over certain keys on our keyboard. So we're going to bring out this one that says when the space bar is pressed. But we're not using the space bar. We're going to change that. In this case, I'm going to change it to the up arrow. And so when the up arrow is pressed, that's going to cause something to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and then choose in the look area. And so my Scratch cat here is going to talk about, in this case, a part of the water cycle. So we might say, when water is heated, it evaporates. So now if I was controlling this with my makey, when they would press on the copper tape that's connected to the up arrow, that's what they're going to go ahead and get. So the great thing about this project is you could keep your code as simple as this if you wanted to. So what I could come and do is I could come to the edge here and I could duplicate. I right clicked on that to duplicate. I got this one back here. I could also duplicate this one as well. Notice how it brought out the whole thing this time. So I'm going to go ahead and just take this one and drag it away because we don't need it anymore. So in this case, I'm going to change this now maybe to the right arrow. And so I'm going to say water condenses into clouds. And so in this case, when I press the right arrow, that's what's going to happen. And so the cool thing about this is now is I can just take this same code structure and repeat it for the other parts of the water cycle. Now you could also get a little more sophisticated and actually have it to where maybe a picture shows up or the background changes. So I'm going to show you that next. So what you're seeing here is a finished example of my water cycle project, and this is where I want to show you kind of a next step you could take to make this look a little bit more interesting. You're going to notice that I have those same two blocks that we used before, the when the arrow key is pressed and then the say. But you're also going to notice I have this new block in the middle called switch background. So if I go ahead and click on my backdrop here, I can see, go to my backdrop tab, I can see here I have different kind of backgrounds, and each one of them is, in this case, for a different part of the water cycle. You notice the only difference I have here is I went ahead and I have a different part that's just kind of selected. You can see I've put that box around it. So I'm going to show you how to make a new backdrop. So if I go ahead and go to the corner, you can see here I can choose one from the library that they already have. I can paint one. I can also upload a picture, or I can use the camera. I'm going to go ahead and upload. So I'm going to go ahead and just go on this one here. I'm going to upload. I'm going to find a picture that I've already saved. So in this case, I have the water cycle picture. Now I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And you're going to notice it's going to go ahead and upload that picture, and it's going to go ahead and put it into my slide area here. And you notice it also gives it a name down here. So we can go ahead now and I can alter this and I can make changes to it. So one of the things that I did was I went to my rectangle here and I just chose to make it kind of a red outline. so that when we get to this picture, I want to make sure that I'm going to go ahead and highlight this part right here. And now that just becomes part of the picture itself. And if I want to change the name of that picture, I'm going to come up here to the title up here, and I can, I can call this evaporation. Since I already have one that's evaporation, I'm going to just call this evaporation number 2. And there we go. Our background is set. So if I go back to my Scratchcat, and I go back into the scripts area, which is the code, you can notice when I'm switching to a background, I have all these different ones that I can choose from. And that's how I get my program to work kind of like it does right now. So when this program runs and it's connected to the makey, I'm going to go ahead, I'll make this full size so it's easier to see. When I click the green flag, it's going to start the program. As I hit the different parts on my piece of cardboard with copper tape, it's going to change the picture and it's going to bring up different words here. And so as a user, I can interact with this piece of cardboard and actually control what's going on my computer screen. So hopefully now you have a better idea of how I created my water cycle kiosk project. Links to this project will be available within the video description and probably in a follow-up email. But if you have any questions, reach out to me. And think about all the cool ways that your students could create kind of a kiosk project with Scratch, the copper tape, and the makey.